Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're unraveling a modern mystery that affects, well, almost every single one of us. Have you ever picked up your phone just to check one quick message and suddenly 30 minutes have completely vanished? Why is it that we literally cannot put our phones down, even when our eyes are burning and our brains are practically begging for a break? Today we're going to look at the exact science of what is happening inside your head every time you stare at that screen.
If you're a student or honestly just anyone trying to navigate the digital world right now, you know the absolute weight of digital fatigue. You know all about doom scrolling. You know you lie in bed completely exhausted, yet your thumb just keeps right on swiping. Listen, I want to assure you right off the bat, this is not a failure of your willpower. It's actually a highly predictable outcome of an environment that's custom designed to bypass your rational brain entirely.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The attention trap. 2. The myth of dopamine. 3. The slot machine effect. 4. Persuasive digital architecture. 5. The cost of switching. And finally, 6. Reclaiming your focus.
Okay, let's jump right into part 1, the attention trap. Engineered compulsion. Okay, let's dive into this. The very first step to understanding our digital habits is realizing that our ancient, ancestral neural circuitry is actively clashing with modern technology. We're operating with brains that evolved for a world of scarcity, but we're trapped in these algorithmic mazes of infinite abundance. Think about it. Have you ever opened your phone just for a minute and suddenly realized an entire hour slipped away without you even noticing? Psychologists actually call this temporal distortion. It's kind of like a mild dissociative state where your perception of time literally warps. Minutes compress into what feels like seconds, and your self-awareness just sort of fades away. You don't intend to do it, but that intention totally dissolves into compulsion. Which brings us to part 2, the myth of dopamine, the anticipation chemical. To figure out why this temporal distortion happens so easily, we've got to meet the biological culprit. And to do that, we absolutely have to bust a massive misconception. Most people think dopamine is the pleasure chemical, right? But neuroscientist Kent Burridge proved this is actually wrong. Dopamine is not about liking. It is entirely about wanting. It's essentially your brain's hype man. The dopamine surge doesn't happen when you actually get the reward. It happens in the anticipation of it. The spike comes right before. It's the thrill of the hunt, not the satisfaction of the catch. It creates this intense itch that you just feel compelled to scratch. And that brings us directly to the dopamine loop that these apps use to keep you completely hooked. Let's walk through it step by step. Step 1 is the trigger. Your phone buzzes, or maybe you just feel a twinge of boredom. Step 2 is anticipation. Your brain fires up and floods the nucleus accumbens, that's your brain's reward center, with dopamine. You feel the pull. Step 3 is the variable reward. You open the app and you have no idea what you're going to see. Could be a hilarious video, could be a boring ad. Step 4 is the reset. You close the app, the dopamine drops off, creating a deficit, and suddenly you're craving the next hit. This loop literally forces your brain to chase the unpredictable. Moving on to part 3, the slot machine effect, behavioral conditioning. And this brilliantly illustrates how tech companies have essentially weaponized that exact biology, using what's called variable ratio reinforcement. This is a schedule where your actions are rewarded totally unpredictably, and it keeps you completely locked in, because you never know which flick of the thumb will yield a high-value reward, like a funny meme or a text from a crush. Your brain stays in this constant state of hyperarousal. Guys, this is exactly how casino slot machines work. The mathematical unpredictability of your social media feed creates a compulsion that is just incredibly hard to break. To put it bluntly, modern tech design is basically scaling the work of psychologist B.F. Skinner to billions of humans. Skinner showed decades ago that pigeons and rats would press levers compulsively if the rewards were randomized. This quote really hits the nail on the head. And hey, I share this not to make you feel bad, but actually to remove the guilt. You aren't weak. You are interacting with a highly engineered trap that was purposely designed to be more compelling than reality. Let's look at part 4, persuasive digital architecture, the frictionless trap. So let's look at exactly how this trap is built to bypass your logical brain. These platforms utilize persuasive digital architecture to just completely eliminate friction. So the crucial point here is that these features are rigorously tested to be irresistible. Infinite scroll, it removes the natural stopping cues we used to have at the bottom of a web page. Pull to refresh is a physical gesture that literally mimics pulling a slot machine lever. Autoplay removes the friction of even having to choose to watch the next video. Those red notification badges, they create severe visual urgency. And social streaks exploit our deep psychological need to return a favor or finish a task. Every single one of these is a targeted trigger for that dopamine loop, which leads us to the fallout in part 5, the cost of switching, cognitive erosion. So what happens when we trigger these loops hundreds of times a day? Well, the data from attention researcher Gloria Mark is pretty staggering. She tracked how human attention has shifted as digital technology evolved. Back in 2004, the average time a person spent on a single screen before switching was 2.5 minutes. By 2012, that plummeted to 75 seconds. And by 2020, a mere 47 seconds. Our attention spans are basically collapsing under the weight of this constant digital context switching.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it completely destroys the whole myth of multitasking. Bouncing between your homework and your phone leaves what's called attention residue. That's a lingering cognitive load from the app you just closed, and it literally makes you slower and less accurate. Furthermore, neuroscientists have found that heavy media multitaskers actually show decreased gray matter density in the brain regions critical for impulse control. This constant neural strain can even degrade your myelin integrity. That's the protective coating on your brain's wiring. So your apps aren't just distracting you, they are structurally exhausting your cognitive capacity.
Finally, let's get to part 6, reclaiming your focus, the path forward.
Okay, I know all of that sounds incredibly heavy, but I promise you absolutely have the power to break this cycle. The brain is incredibly adaptable thanks to neuroplasticity, and this is genuinely good news. The exact same biological mechanism that allowed social media to reshape your attention circuits also allows you to shape them right back. The regions of your brain involved in sustained attention respond to training, just like a muscle responds to hitting the gym. You can absolutely heal from digital fatigue.
So how do we actually train that muscle? Here are some super practical digital detox tips. Think of these as empowering brain hacks to basically dampen that dopamine anticipation cycle. First, batch your social media into scheduled windows, so checking it becomes predictable, not a variable reward. Second, turn your phone's display to grayscale. Stripping away those bright red triggers seriously dampens the visual dopamine hit. Third, disable all non-essential notifications. Removing the triggers doesn't require willpower, just a quick settings change. Fourth, create strict device-free zones. Charge your phone outside the bedroom so you reestablish those natural stopping cues. And finally, practice just 15 minutes of sustained attention every day, like reading a physical book without interruptions, to actively strengthen those prefrontal networks. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to literally look at your phone and ask yourself, who